young guys had a crack. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, they did. We were really pleased with a lot of the game. We made some sort of errors that we'll keep working on, and some system-based, some sort of technically based. But I thought the effort, the intent was pretty good. I mean, in terms of you're not going to win many games when you have an inside 50 differential like that. But I thought our forwards from the limited supply were excellent. I thought that we defended for the most part really well, certainly infinitely better than we did last week. And so there's a lot to like. I think Vicentini was I thought fantastic. We'll have to work with him a little bit on just sort of technique. He had a couple of free kicks against that. We'll have to work out how we coach him through that. But I thought he was terrific against a really good player. So I thought stoppage was a bit of an issue for us at different stages. But I thought all in all, there's a lot to like and a lot to look forward to.
When you try to find players at this time of year, and we already know that Caddy's going to be a player, when you see him do that sort of stuff tonight, how excited do you get as a coach?
Yeah, and the fact that Archer May, who most of you probably know, he's played some very good footy over here. I thought he looked really strong as well. I think they formed a really good partnership with Peter Wright helping out as well. So I think there's reason to be optimistic about what that looks like.
You touched on Vicentini before. I guess you'll look at the stat sheet and see Jackson had 48 hit-outs. How do you ensure that he doesn't get too down or too focused on something like that?
Hit-outs, I thought he rucked really well. I thought he competed really well. He's a 19-year-old playing his first game against a premiership player who was picked 2 or 3 in the draft. So there's some big challenges in footy, but probably not too many bigger than that. And in terms of, I thought he got a little bit rattled when there were a couple of free kicks against him that he really wasn't sure why. And then he sort of had to go to plan B and C a little bit, and went away from what he was doing really well early in the game. But for the large part of the game, we were wrapped. Big tackle in the second quarter, which knocked him around a little bit, but he fought on really well. So I thought it was all things considered, a very good debut.
How did you view the ground level battle in the midfield, and where do you think they got the advantage on you?
Oh, well, we were beaten in there. I think that Sarong and Brayshaw are well known to everyone, but I think Bolton adds a real X factor in there. I think they were able to dictate a little bit around the contest more than we'd like. So, and we're probably at the stage where we're putting some different players through there, and they're a little bit more settled than we are right at the moment. But as I said, we're in a difficult spot, but we're learning a lot about our group, and we're certainly going to find some players. So again, come out of the game disappointed, but not disheartened.
Is your approach to keep filtering those, new faces through the midfield rather than, turning to someone like a Zach Merritt to spend more time in the middle?
Yeah, Merritt played a lot of midfield today. Yeah.
What does it look like after the break for you, Brad? Does the break come at a good time? And players-wise, what does it look like for you?
That would have been good if the break had come 6 weeks ago and all the way through. It's like we might get some players back after the break. We'll definitely get Durham back, for example, from suspension. And there's probably 5 or 6 others that will be close. But now we've got to balance the, is it a risk to bring 5 or 6 back all at once? We'll have to assess where they're at. They'll all have all of those players will have a really strong training session this weekend. They won't have the same bye week that all the other players will have. So we've got 2 weeks really now to get them ready, and then make an assessment as to whether we bring some back. But I've said throughout the week there are the silver lining of all this is, we think there are some players that have come into our team that won't go out regardless of who comes back. So that's, by definition, should make us stronger.
Do you take some heart in the big moments? Like Will Setterfield must have put his body on the line 3 or 4 times. You had Roberts with the, the run-down tackle on Bolton in the square. Like these are big moments for a young team that are trying to build something.
Yeah, and that's really the actions that we're chasing, and that's what we've got to really reward and recognise. And I don't think there's anything I see in the group that is lack of effort or lack of commitment or lack of the action that we're actually chasing. We just got to, it's certainly not an excuse. I mean, we came here with a plan and we didn't execute it perfectly. But as a coach, I also understand that we've got, players that we met 3 weeks ago. 2 of them playing in our team. We've got, a lot of guys who are in their first, second, third, fourth, fifth game, whatever it is, who are learning a system and trying to execute under AFL heat and AFL pressure. So while it's disappointing, it's this is the exciting part of coaching in my view. It's really working hard with those young men and building them through, and hopefully they're part of the team that we want to be in the not too distant future.
How do you coach Archie Perkins at the moment when he had the incident down this end where he didn't take the mark, would have liked to have gone harder, it came off, was really disappointed in himself? What do you say to him at the moment as a young guy who high draft pick would be expecting more of himself and has a moment like that where he's disappointed in it?
Yeah, I think that it's always about reminding players what they're really good at, and Perkins is a strong, powerful footballer who, at his best is breaking through tackles, competing really strong. He's a really strong aerialist, and right at the moment he's doubting himself a little bit. And so, my job is to remind him of what he's really good at, go back and have a look at those things, coach those things in terms of the technical aspect, but then, get him to the point where he's in the frame of mind to get out and compete, because he is a competitor. But he's making mistakes through hesitation at the moment. And the one time he looked like vintage Perkins, he burst through the front of the stoppage. It was a free kick against for a ruck infringement. So, it'll come for him. We've just got to persist. And again, that's what, it's easy to criticise, but coaches aren't critics. They're there to help.
Did you have a chance to ask Adam Simpson? He's probably someone who could understand your injury toll. Did he have any advice for you?
No, he just said best of luck. It's hard. Yeah. I'm not. We're not dwelling on the injuries. I spoke pre-game about the fact that there's a level of empathy for players who are going through a really difficult time. I mean, someone like Lewis Hayes, who's worked really hard for 3 years to get an opportunity to do an ACL in his debut, is devastating for him. It's devastating for Tom Edwards, who's spent basically a football lifetime trying to get an opportunity doing an ACL. So we've got to sort of manage that part of it and understand that players are going through a really tough time. But for the players who are available, we fielded 23 fit players who have an unbelievable opportunity to play AFL football in a magnificent stadium against a top 6 or 7 side in our opinion. So that's the way that we frame it, and that's the way that we approached it. And I think if we keep that attitude, we'll come out of this better. So it's not about dwelling on the injuries. We've got to balance that empathy with getting on with the job.
What do you think your approach will be with Vigo now, I guess, going forward, given what you saw from him tonight and having Todd there?
Well, from what I saw tonight, it won't be his last game of AFL footy, that's for sure. I like his competitiveness. I like he's a great size. He's a terrific athlete, and he's got a huge opportunity to learn under one of the all-time great ruckmen in Todd Goldstein. And knowing Goldie like I do, Goldie's sole objective, not sole objective, it'll be a dual objective, will be to get himself ready to perform when he needs to play, but he'll take a really strong interest in getting Vigo up to speed as quickly as possible. So hopefully we now have seen Vigo play, and Goldie will freshen up, and now we'll have some, hopefully for the first time in a long time, some decisions to make at the selection table.
Thanks, guys.
Great, thanks a lot.